Workout splits. So if you come to this video, you're probably desperately bored of the workout split that you're doing right now, or you're just not seeing results from it. And a lot of your early gym fitness career is really just about trying to find what the perfect split is for you, what the perfect workout regimen is for you over a given time period. I was doing the same split for a long time and then moved over to another split that also lasted a long time. And it's only really up until recently that I've found a really consistent method of actually deciding on a good split, because a lot of what I did in the early days was just copy the same split from big YouTubers that I aspired to be like, and just copied their split and did exactly what they did. But that's kind of flawed thinking, because these people who are years and years ahead of you in their training careers are doing splits that work for them. And the thing is with a workout split, it's very, very subjective. It really just depend on what your goals are and how tolerant you are of the workouts, what your diet's like, what your sleep's like. So in this video, I'm basically just gonna go over a really easy way that you can decide on a good split for you. And it's hopefully gonna help you to actually land on a good split that you can stick to for a few years. So really, this is super easy to figure out. There's one golden rule that you need to keep in mind when you're thinking about changing up the split. And the golden rule is hit every single muscle group twice, roughly every week. When I first started out lifting, I basically did what's called a bro split. If you don't know what a bro split is, I'll explain it. So I used to work out at home. This was kind of during lockdown when the pandemic was at its peak. And it was when I first started training, and I used to train on just a little bench that my friend actually gave me. And I used to train with some like really old dumbbells that my dad used to probably train with back in the 80s or whatever. So they're like super old. I used to train downstairs in my kitchen. So we'd like move the table out of the way and put the bench down there, and I'd have to bring it up and downstairs every single day. So that was a workout in itself, kind of just carrying it from my bedroom down 2 flights of stairs into the basically like the dining room, move the table and then put the bench there, put all the dumbbells there. And I actually did a few workouts with my dad as well, and he kind of like helped me in start. And literally the first few months, maybe even up to like maybe 7 months, 8 months of training, of my personal training, like at the gym, it was working out at home, I was doing the bro split. So I'd do like Monday, I'd like literally just do biceps, because all I cared about was getting big arms, and I didn't realize about like how important triceps were. I really just focused on biceps. So on Monday I'd do biceps for like half an hour, and then on Tuesday I'd do chest, and then on Wednesday I barely did any back, but I did some back. Legs didn't exist at this point, so I was literally just training like one muscle group every day, and then having like rest days in between, feeling super sore the next morning because it was the first time I'd ever trained, right? And that was the split I did with it. It was pretty much just upper body, barely did any legs. And if I was doing legs, it was like body weight squats, because I'd never done any legs in my life. So I had like super weak legs, and I really wasn't very strong at all. So I was doing like body weight squats, and like, yeah, when I was actually training with the dumbbells, I would just do upper body stuff. And that was kind of like a bro split. It's like not even like a full bro split, right? It was like a half-assed attempt at a bro split. So that's like how I started. But then as I got more and more into fitness, I was looking at more YouTubers. I learned about the push-pull legs, which is like the standard that like usually most people go for. And I did that for like a year, and push-pull legs was pretty good. And I'd say to anyone who's a beginner starting out, definitely don't do what I did. Don't do the bro split. I don't think that's a good way to do it, because it doesn't follow that golden rule that I mentioned about hitting every single muscle group twice, roughly, every week or every 8 days, because 8 days is kind of easier to do it than like 7 days dead on. But if you can hit like each muscle group twice every 8 days, that's like the sweet spot. If you're going over that, like you're hitting your biceps, for example, you're hitting your biceps like 3 times per week, that's probably like a little bit too much frequency for biceps. Like if you're doing like total body workouts, for example, and you do 3 total body workouts a week or 4, then you're going to be hitting like your biceps, your back, your shoulders, your chest 4 times in 1 week, which is, in my opinion, it's too excessive. It's too much volume. And if those workouts are as intense as they should be, and you're actually like focusing on progressive overload and you're really trying to push yourself, you're not going to be able to recover enough in between those sessions, in my opinion. So a really good place to start is push-pull legs. And the reason I recommend new lifters to start with push-pull legs is it's really like easy. First of all, it's super simple to follow along. And Two, it's just super easy to actually understand like what kind of split that you're going to want to build for yourself in the future, because it's like the most basic split you can do. So, and for those who really don't know what like push-pull legs is, it's basically push is your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps. Pull is your back and your biceps, and legs is just your quads and your hamstrings. And you just do that basically, right? 3 days of exercises in a row, and then rest day, and then you do it again. And it's as simple as that. So why did I stop doing push-pull legs? Well, for me, I was finding, and this is another good reason why you should start doing push-pull legs, is because it teaches you what you like doing and what you don't like doing. And I actually really don't like training push days, because I like training chest, I like training triceps, and I like training shoulders, but I don't like training all three of those muscles on the same day, because it's just too much to do in one session, in my opinion. I would be at the gym for like 2 hours, sometimes like 2.5 hours. And for me, like trying to run a YouTube channel while also working a full-time job, it just was too time intensive. And I really needed to find a way that I could do a different split where it was going to allow me to split up those muscle groups a bit more efficiently. And I also wanted to focus on my chest. So this is another kind of second point to throw into that as well, is if you have a muscle group that you're really trying to focus on and build, don't focus on building your entire body for now. You know, we're not like professional bodybuilders here. We're not trying to like grow every single muscle as much as possible. If you have like decent arms, decent shoulders, whatever, but you have a really lagging chest, like that's what I have, a super lagging behind chest, I want to focus on chest more. So I don't want to be training chest and shoulders and triceps on the same day. So for me, push-pull legs didn't work for, well, it worked for about a year, and then I figured out that, you know, I need to change it up and I need to do something different. So that's when I decided to change up my split and have a dedicated chest day, because that's what I wanted to focus on. So the main tip I can give you, apart from the golden rule of, you know, train each muscle twice per week roughly, the second major rule is, I'd say, pick a muscle or two that you're really wanting to focus on, right? So that could be your shoulders. I know a lot of guys, it's usually between chest and shoulders is like you see guys either have really strong shoulders and a weak chest, or a really strong chest and weak shoulders. It's rare that you get someone who has both. So look at yourself in the mirror, analyze, right, do I have a good chest and maybe my shoulders lagging behind a bit? Well, maybe I should train them on the same day. Maybe I should have a dedicated shoulder day and maybe do chest and back on the same day, or something like that. And you can start to mix and match the push-pull legs framework into whatever split you want. And I ended up falling on a split that really works for me really well. I start off the split, let's say it's Monday, start off doing chest. So I just focus purely on chest and doing pure chest movements, nothing else. Obviously I'm gonna get a bit of front delt activation in there, but not too worried about that. And then the next day I'll do back. So I wanna focus on my chest and my back. They're like the two kind of biggest areas I want to get a lot better in, chest and back. So I focus heavily on back on the second day. And then on the third day, I'm going to do arms, which is, you can guess, biceps and triceps. That's another tip I give you is, if you can throw an arm day in there where you know, if you're really wanting to like fill out some shirt sleeves and like really grow your arms, I mentioned this in my arm video on how to grow your arms, but try and change up your splits that you've got a dedicated arm day, because there's something about really being able to focus on your triceps and then your biceps afterwards. Like, because they're opposing muscle groups, you know, one's pulling and one's pushing. I feel like it's just a perfect session, and my favorite day is arm day. I love training arms because it's just it's not an easy session. Like, you still go hard, it's still intense, but it's a very satisfying session. So I do arms, and then on the last day I do legs, right? And you might be thinking, well, that's 4 days, and push-pull legs is only 3 days. Well, that's right. So obviously, because there's a bit less volume in each of those days, especially on the push day, there's a little bit less volume. It means that I can recover a bit easier after every session. So I don't actually need to take a rest day. And this is against the advice that a lot of guys online will give you. Everyone says to take rest days and that kind of thing, which I do think is important. I think recovery is very important. But I think if you're eating right and you're getting plenty of protein in and you've sorted your sleep out and you've got good sleep, you're not staying up till 2 in the morning watching porn and Netflix, then I think you're gonna get good sleep. And I think if you got good sleep, good diet, you're gonna recover well. And I think if those sessions are just intense, but not too long, i.e. you're not fatiguing yourself too much, you're just keeping the intensity there, initiating muscle hypertrophy, but you're not necessarily in the gym for like 2 hours really draining yourself, I think you should be able to recover without having rest days. And because those muscle groups that you're training, it's still twice per, well, for me, it's twice every 8 days that I'm training each muscle. It still works, right? I'm still hitting everything twice, and I've got enough time in between each of the muscle groups. It's 3 days in between each one to recover and to rest that particular muscle group. Now, don't get me wrong. If you make your new split and you've taken this advice and you make your own split that works for you, whether that's push-pull legs or something else, and you find that you are really sore and you're not recovering from your split, then obviously change it up, you know what I mean? And if you're finding that you can't go to the gym the next day because it's too much, then take a rest day and maybe think about putting a rest day into your split. And another big point I'll just give you quickly to end off the video is, if you do change up your split, if you're doing push-pull legs right now and you change it to whatever else, or you're doing something now that's kind of working, but you feel a bit bored and you want to change it to maybe push-pull legs or do something else, then all I'd suggest is just stick with the new thing that you do for at least like 2 or 3 weeks. Because if you just do it for 1 week and you're like, nah, it's not for me, well, you're not really going to see if it's actually going to work for you, right? You've got to do it for like at least, in my opinion, like 2 weeks, right? Do it for 2 weeks. If it's really, you don't like doing it after 2 weeks, then obviously don't do it, because the number one problem you're going to create for yourself is if you do a new split that sounds good on paper, right? You've written it on the spreadsheet and it looks good, and then you actually go to do the split and you actually go through the workouts and you don't like it, you're not recovering, or you just don't find training back together with triceps or whatever is enjoyable, then don't do it. Because if you don't enjoy training, right, you're not going to want to go and train. And you could have the most perfect optimal split in the world that's just the most perfect for your body, and that scientifically could be like training total body 3 times per week, right? But I don't think I'd want to train total body workouts 3 times a week, right? I would find that boring. It'd be too many rest days, and I'd find the actual workouts themselves way too difficult, way too intense. So although that might initiate the most muscle growth for like a person, if you don't want to do it, you're not going to be consistent and stick with it. So in the long run, it's actually not going to be as good as if you just did push-pull legs or something, right? Remember guys, just improve yourself by 1% every day, and I'll see you in the next video.